I'd like to call up Wayne Sussman, the current Manhig of HDSA, South Africa. South Africa. A long line of Sussmans in the movement.
Good morning, everybody. I have vivid memories of the 2005 reunion on Kibbutz Yisrael. Arnie Friedman in his trademark sandals, greeting so many with that beautiful, soothing voice, welcoming one and all to his beloved kibbutz. I remember the wind blowing that night at the 2005 reunion, as many of us were there when Zvi Pantanovitz got on that stage and made that famous speech. The crowd hanging on to every word as he said, "Until Habonim, I thought that the world revolved around arithmetic, English, Keniki, and cricket. Now came something that turned my life upside down. There were new terms, new to me at least, a new language and a new dress, but beyond waggles and scarves and bricks and badges, there were new ideas and concepts. There was Pinsker, there was Hess. There were new sounds in music to listen to, often intently in the dark. There were new songs to sing, about Israel, of course, but also Negroes in bondage and workers fighting for their rights. I also remember the tears of Jules Brody and Kibbutz Sora's Foggy Peleg when they reunited that day. These two grown men who had endured so much were overcome by emotion and by memories. Yes, it was a friendship. Yes, it was a chavashaft, but there was something more to it. I remember those early days of Hed, during those uncertain days in the first season of this horrible pandemic called COVID, when we'd gather on Zoom. Our anchor, Stephen Pincus, with his warm words of welcome, Dave Bloom and Belinda Koppich's slideshows, many presenters who had made a mark on their world, their vocation for our benefit, often for humanity's benefit. We would then break out into groups on Zoom, and Zoom's program or algorithm for breaking us up into groups was surely not as creative as all us madrachim could do it with our chanachim when we were much younger. But we'd break out into these groups, and we'd connect with people we had never met, people who had been to different campsites, people who were part of different Garanim, people whose experiences of and issues of their days were wildly different to the issue of our day and the issue of the current day. What was clear from Hed, what was clear from Kibbutz Yisrael, what was so apparent during Kaleidoscope, and what is clear today at Kibbutz Sorah, is that this movement and our experiences at Machaneh, in the various kenim, our life experiences within the movement, often in the forms of a garin, were simply profound. Hed did not just succeed because of the determination, creativity, and passion of Stephen, Dave, and their wonderful team. It also succeeded because of what this movement meant to all of us gathered here today. I cannot think of any South African club, school, university, or membership organization where there was something as long-lasting and as beautiful as Hed. And we need to give Stephen and everyone a credit, and we need to give us a credit. This leads me to today. This movement has faced many tremendous challenges over its past 92 years, and I'm sure I'm going to omit some of them, so I apologize for that. Many of the best and brightest people had to go fight the Nazis and fascists in World War II, and were denied the opportunity to be madrachim to their chanachim. Many of its leaders in their prime of their madrich years would have to go to Israel and assist the fledgling state in its most vulnerable hours. Machaneh, which I learnt when publishing this incredible book, was once cancelled because of the polio epidemic. Offices were raided in Durban by the apartheid police. The movement had to rebuild its cadre of leadership after big garins of Aliyah. We must and will always remember Neil Freed and Dudi Silverwitz, who made the ultimate sacrifice in 1973. It must have been utterly harrowing for the movement and for all their friends to deal with it. I also think back to hearing the stories about Alan Razor, Gerald Goldstein, Ashley Kaimwitz, and Gideon Prodgers, and many, many others, friends of Madrachim, who in the prime of their movement life were taken from us, who died while being active members of the movement. How did all of us, how did the Madrachim gather here, and again I omitted names, how did we pick up the pieces after that? Our organization celebrated when apartheid was over and a new democratic country had to be built. The movement had to dig deep and find out what our new course of action would be. We had to deal with the hopes of the Oslo Accords being crushed. The mid-90s was supposed to be our halcyon days. It also in South Africa saw a community turn inward, become more insular. As Gidi Shimoni in his remarkable book, Community and Conscious, reminded us of. Habonim was no longer seen as offering many parts of the community the solutions it needed during these more insular times. And soon the Jewish day schools, informal educational programs, would only be open to Madrachim who are Dati. This organization, which was the South African community's youth movement for time after time after time, no longer welcomed its blue shirts and red strings into the schools. It looked elsewhere because the Madrachim of our organization didn't wear kippot and weren't Dati. These events shook our beautiful movement, but upon deep reflection, nothing has shaken Habonim Dror South Africa as much as what occurred over the last 3 years because of COVID-19. No machaneh, no tochnet, no writing tochnet with your friends, no sitting by the bonfire, no singing of songs, no crafting icebreakers, no erecting tents, no personal hadracha, no experiences, no memories, lost connections, lost opportunities, utterly devastating, chevra. We stand here today to remember this rich, incredible past, but also to remember if we remember the past, we have to ensure the future. I ask you today, as the manhig of this organization, to join me and help give back to this movement you love so much. I say this as someone whose son recently went to second mini machaneh in Johannesburg and had the most wonderful time. I say this as the father of a daughter who's 6 years old and counts down the hours, the days, until she can first go to her movement event. I shudder to think of what South African Jewry and South Africa will look like without a vibrant, beautiful, strong Habonim Dror. We need to secure its future. I have 4 requests. Give generously to the Shimoni Fund. This fund allows Habonim to send people on to Shnat on the grade 10 Shurashim program. And today, with our partners in Habonim Dror Alami, we dreamed up this idea to retool our Madrachim with incredible Hadracha seminars in Israel. This fund will allow people to continue to come to Israel and honor the incredible work Gidi and Tony Shimoni did for our beautiful movement. And we have a generous donor today who's willing to match every dollar, every pound, every shekel, even every rand, which isn't much, pledged today. They are willing to match that pledge because they believe in the future of this movement and they believe that we continue to honor the Shimonis. Number 2, and I remember seeing, I alluded to many of the great people who've passed since the 2005 reunion. During this time, we have to give of our time to help continue document the great history of Habonim Dror South Africa. We need to record the oral histories of our time in the movement, collect photos, anecdotes, and articles of interest from 92 great years of Habonim, and we can and will build a museum telling this remarkable story, which the Chanechim will go to year after year when they return to Onras. Number 3, give of your time, skill, and energy to aid the movement today. Help them with the hadracha skills you have, the icebreakers, the songs you used to sing. Mentor a Hanaga member, whether it's in South Africa or from afar on Zoom. Help with knowledge transfer or pro bono advice when needed. And ladies and gentlemen, finally, let's start working on the centenary now. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Alev Hashem, thank you very much.